Okay, so hi everybody, and welcome back to the Faith Brunel's Insights podcast. I'm Faith Brunel, and today I'm joined by Queenie. Hi, Queenie, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. I'm glad to have you here. Welcome to season 6 and episode 5. This should be episode 5. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. And thank you once again for joining us on the Faith Brunel's Insights podcast. So today actually is very interesting because Queenie's actually based in Hong Kong, aren't you? And I'm in the UK. Interesting. Very nice.
Right. Yeah, it's actually midnight almost. Yeah.
Wow. So I appreciate your commitment and dedication to be here because in the UK right now it's 4:50. So it's not too late for me. So
I love
I will
podcasting. Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad.
why.
I will run through these questions very nicely for you as well, so that we make sure that everyone can hear about your wonderful journey. As you are a paralegal and aspiring solicitor. So, Queen, I'm just going to hand over to you briefly, just to introduce yourself to the listeners for me before I ask you some wonderful questions.
No worries. I'm Queenie, and it's nice to to appear here. And
Mhm.
I'm currently working as a paralegal in conveyancing in Hong Kong. It's amazing, it's a different culture here. So I actually studied LLB at University of Sussex, and
Mhm.
afterwards I did my LPC legal practice course in at City University of London,
Mhm.
and yeah, I experienced different cultures, and so yeah, I'm now working as paralegal, but previously I was a journalist, so I'm a career changer.
Mhm.
So it's amazing. Like my legal journey is like a twist, a roller coaster, and I experience all ups and downs, and but I'm still aspire to become a lawyer. So this is
Excellent. Yeah,
I'm going to succeed. That's my belief. Yeah.
and see that through. Thank you, Queenie, very much for for talking about your journey and sharing your experience as well. Having kind of worked and studied in London, and then obviously moved across to Hong Kong. It's excellent. So thank you for talking about that. And I am going to get into your background into radio journalism shortly. But before that, I want to ask you a question about what because you're obviously currently a paralegal, and you're specializing in conveyancing. How has your experience in radio journalism enhanced your approach to legal work, especially in kind of communicating legal concepts effectively?
Wow, that's like a very challenging job because
Mm-hmm.
like I just started my paralegal role,
Yeah.
and it's a different scenario when you come to embark a legal role as
Mm-hmm.
a paralegal.
Yeah.
And when I did my radio journalism as like a producer, I just talk simply with the listeners and producer, like you could speak directly. But when you're entering the law firm, you need to comply with a lot of professional ethics, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to uh be careful on the confidentiality. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
disclose everything, and then you need to be very, very cautious, especially like the spelling mistakes, and you
Yeah.
cannot really disclose any parties, like if you handle both landlord and tenants like agreements, you cannot like let the other party know, and then
Yeah.
it's like another level of like you need to be
Confidentiality.
very, very, very
Yeah.
careful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, Queenie. Thank you very much. It does, it really does sound very interesting as well. And as you said as well, you have to be very confidential and protect people's data as a paralegal. So talking about your journey as a paralegal, as you said that you are a career changer, which is excellent to hear that you've been so successful in your endeavours so far from shifting from one space to another. What transferable skills do you think are vital in terms of what transferable skills have you been able to apply when moving from obviously being a producer to being a paralegal?
The top skill that I could like adopt very quickly is like my communication skills,
Yeah.
because I could like effectively communicate probably to the supervisor, and also like to client, and also my emailing skills, and also my
Yeah.
networking skills. Um, I think the most important is like how organized you are, because when I was like a radio producer, I need to be very resourceful.
Yeah.
Like I need to probably start a Excel
Spreadsheet.
sheet and to
Yeah.
be very organized on my contacts. And
Mhm.
and similarly in my paralegal role, but probably all the trainee solicitors have to handle different matters.
Mm.
And it's like your project management skills, because every time I did like a radio show, it's just like a project. And then I need to think about like the timeline and like when I need to execute this, when I need to like look for some technical like people to help
Mm.
set up with the studio and
Yeah.
edit, and like when you need to hand like finish the project on time. So
Yeah.
it's just like it's very transferable because you need to meet the deadline
Mm.
ultimately. Like as a radio producer, you need to hand
Mhm.
like finish editing the episodes, just like what you did
Yeah.
for this
Podcasting. Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely
So it's
understand.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, so that's like the skill that you are having. So if you like podcasting, I just encourage you to record more podcasts and probably talk to interesting people you like to.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's what like I've been doing. So I did like Let's Chat Law podcast. I'm
Hmm.
doing like a different the Firm Rundown podcast and different podcasts. And I feel like I like appearing on radio because I like listening the like the voice. I mean like the inspiring stories of
Of
people.
people,
But
yeah, in real life. Hmm.
yeah, and so that's why I entered the radio industry. The stories I have, they inspire me a lot.
Yeah.
So but in the begin but at the end I really like legal industry too. So I would like one day I would like to combine the two together.
I
Like
think that's really
to
interesting, actually, if we can just pivot there and talking about obviously, your broad experience having been in radio and journalism and now being in the legal sphere and kind of space. I think it's actually great that you're able to have those transferable skills. And I'd implore anyone really who is an aspiring barrister, or solicitor or paralegal, that podcasting really does create a great benefit. Just to reiterate what you just said, Queenie, and everybody, to all of my listeners, you're in the right place if you want to be hearing from a diverse range of speakers in different kind of sectors as well. And Queen, I just want to kind of talk to you though in terms of your radio journalism background, because you really went into a great level of depth talking about, the importance of real life stories, the importance of communication and organization and time management. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is actually to be organized and have effective time management in both the radio and journalism and in the legal kind of industries?
Wow, I think it's a top 10. Like, if you are a disorganized person, you
Yeah.
feel like it's so stressful and
Mhm.
you cannot really survive, and you will commit mistakes when you're like doing a paralegal role,
Yeah.
especially. There are lots of projects, files that you need to um, go over, go over. So, as a radio journalist, if you're not organized
Mhm.
person, um, people do not entrust you. Probably you're not like perform professionally.
Yeah.
So and people do not want to talk to you because you're not prepared enough.
Mhm.
Like if you do not you ask like silly questions, or you ask like some questions that apparently you haven't done your research yet.
Mhm.
So so people do not like maybe look at you and do not really um probably like oh, you cannot get the answer that you want through
Mhm.
the interview, because when I did a lot of packages like for my radios for the radio station in Hong Kong,
Mhm.
and probably you want to get the deepest question, deepest thought that you want to
Information.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this skill is very transferable when you are a solicitor, because you want to get the most information from the
Yeah.
client.
From the client. Yeah.
And probably the client will not talk to you at once
Yeah. You have to
because
kind of
they
digest that
just
information. Yeah.
yeah, they just match you. Probably they just match you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's really
you need to
interesting,
get the
actually.
skills. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to get the skills to like probably attract them, allure them to um give them more information to
As
you. So that
possible
skill,
is really, really
that
vital.
Yeah, that skill, like that people skill you
Mhm.
get from radio, it's definitely transferable.
And
Like
just coming from that,
or
then, and just coming from that, because you're talking about those transferable skills, really, which is a great point to pivot here, talking about clients and the the importance of clients as well, and being able to actually digest information. And you've mentioned that time management organization is like a top 10. I just want to talk to you a little bit about kind of the networking aspect, because when you're actually talking, in your discourse, you mention a lot about networking and kind of a lot of the themes around networking and kind of getting out there. So, in terms of networking, how crucial was networking in terms of securing yourself a role? Obviously, you are a career changer. Did networking play a part in you having a current role now as a paralegal?
definitely because uh without your network, it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard to get into this field. Apparently that's like in Hong Kong, but
Yeah.
probably in London or in the UK it's a different story. But for me, for my case, I'm so glad that actually I was a client
Mm-hmm.
to for uh at this law firm first because my family has to do like a power of attorney for the
Mm-hmm.
will and something like that. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
so I would like maybe if you haven't got your job or paralegal for yet, so probably you could go to any like high street firms with your family and probably go to the firm and probably you said, oh, I'd like to draw up a will, and then that point you meet some solicitor, right? And
Yeah.
then that's like your first contact. So so I was the client in the beginning
And
for
then you
this
became a
law
member of
firm.
staff. Yeah. And that's quite interesting,
Yeah.
actually. It's an interesting parallel because you never know who you're going to meet. So, as my mum always kind of says,
Yeah.
it's always good to treat people right, because they could be the shock of your life, in the sense that if you were just kind of rude to somebody and you didn't realize that maybe in 10 years' time, you'd be looking for a job in that very same sector, in that very same law firm, and their recommendation would have been really of the utmost would have been beneficial to you, but you kind of lost that opportunity due to your behavior. So it's interesting how you're talking about how you obviously have to go there for one purpose, but now you're actually paralegaling and specializing in conveyancing.
Yeah. I never thought at that point when I went to the law firm, I
Yeah.
signed a like agreement on
Mm.
like the power of attorney
Yeah.
and I've never thought like maybe 4 years later I would be ending up working here. But like after 2 years I have become a client of this firm.
Mm.
Then I started like a legal intern. Like I
Right.
was a legal intern at this firm. I worked in the litigation department. And then I really enjoy this firm, but the only thing that I want to like explore is like I was like had a stronger interest in mergers and acquisitions, like the
Yeah.
commercial transactions.
M&A.
But this,
Mm.
yeah, but this firm do not do this practice, so I
Right.
did not put this on my top list. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end, I was like thinking about like whether I should start my paralegal here, but but knowing that my weakness is like I have lack of legal experience,
Mm-hmm.
so I accepted this job offer first,
Mm-hmm.
and I, in my spare time, I always look into like M&A transactions
Mm-hmm.
or I'm also doing my LM thesis on this topic.
Wow.
And I also like persevere. I always believe that one day I will end up in like M&A seat or some firms that do M&A. Um, and
And what
that
attracts you
like
to that
that belief
then?
is important.
Mm-hmm. And what
Um,
what is it that actually piques your interest about about that type of law, about M&A, mergers and acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions? What is it about it that really piques your interest?
um, that's interesting question because like yeah, because I have never thought like I'm that type of person that
Mm,
likes this type of transactions, but I really enjoy the like how challenging it is.
yeah,
Like you need to negotiate warranties and indemnities in that
yeah.
agreement.
Hmm.
And um yeah, I don't know, like it's just like I'm so I'm like enjoy working in as a
Yeah.
team, like
Hmm.
a huge transaction. I'm really proud of it. And then
Yeah. I
um,
think we've frozen there.
I want to get involved
Yeah,
in
you're back.
with like Chinese
Hmm.
yeah, get
Companies.
involved Chinese, yeah, companies. And yeah, I think like that's my my
Are you frozen there, Queenie? Just
career
slightly?
goal,
Yeah,
like
you're back.
working,
Yeah, you froze there
yeah.
briefly. You froze there briefly, but I understand what you're saying about this. Yeah, you froze there. But I'm sure, I'm sure myself and the listeners, we understand that you're talking about the kind of the intricacies of M&A in terms of the way that you want to see it kind of interact with like Chinese companies and looking at indemnities, and other topics pertaining to mergers and acquisitions. And kind of what advice would you give to students then who are either aspiring paralegals or solicitors, in terms of what advice would you give them about where they are now and how they can really and how they can really secure these opportunities like you have?
uh, to be open-minded,
Yeah.
like you're going to experience, of course. Um, like the second tip is like you need to think about which area of law you really like.
Mhm.
Because for me, I really do not like maybe probate,
Mhm.
wills, because I feel so like maybe a bit emotional when I
Yeah.
see like those death
Yeah.
certificates. Or yeah, I think I
Mhm.
feel a bit like emotional on
It's
that.
hard to see.
And
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, but and I see myself commercial, then
Hmm.
you will have to look at the news probably. It's like
Commercial
develop your
awareness.
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big word.
Yeah.
And oh, I always scroll Financial Times, like
Yeah. So
even
do I
though I'm
actually.
like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like good habits that
Mm.
every commercial lawyer should have, like
Mhm.
to pay attention to what's happening around and to give the best advice to your clients in that way. And I'm not a like
Mhm.
economics, and I'm trying. And yeah, you keep learning every day, and
I think that's
that's
actually.
like you
Mhm.
ne
Yeah,
yeah.
carry on. Yeah, carry on. Yeah. I think that's Yeah, I think that you know what it is because we've got a slight lag, everybody, because we're in different countries. It's a slight lag, but I think that as you said, Queenie, it's really interesting actually to look at that, and understanding what type of law actually is interesting for you. Don't just choose a law that goes with the status quo just because your friends are choosing a type of law or you think that it's going to be, it's going to be the most lucrative. Obviously, you do want to make money, but you obviously still do want to do a type of law that you are passionate about and that daily there is something there that gets you up in the morning excited and rearing and ready to go. So thank you, Queenie, very much for your excellent insights. And just before we end today, I want to just make I just want to commend you for something that I was reading about that you were pursuing the LPC at LLM at the City University of London while you're also actively involved presenting the firm rundown. That's really really impressive. And just piggybacking off that before we end today's episode, how do you maintain a work-life balance?
I think the most important is like you 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 don't think about work after
Mm-hmm.
you leave your office,
Yeah.
and you don't check your work email. And that's like the golden rule. And you keep the borderline very clear. And during weekends, I'll usually do what I really enjoy, such
Mm-hmm.
as like running and playing piano, walking with my dog. And
Yeah.
like the most important is like when I think about the weekend, I will feel so relaxed and I will
Mm-hmm.
never think about work. But
Mm-hmm.
I will also keep up with the trend, and also like hang out with friends. And
Yeah.
that's the most important, because at work you are so tense. Like you have a more relaxing weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, Queenie. Thank you very much. I lost you slightly, but I still understand the gist of what you were saying. Talking about hanging out with friends, walking your dog, really doing things that really actively interest you and kind of take your mind off work, which is the key to solving the work-life balance. And obviously, it's a key to avoiding burnout, which is when you're physically and emotionally exhausted. So, Queenie, thank you very much for appearing on the Faith Brunel's Insights podcast. It's been a real pleasure to laugh with you, to chat with you about your wonderful journey. Really, really inspirational as well about how you've been able to navigate through the mindscape in terms of moving really across the waters, really moving to a different country and still excelling as well in your chosen field. So I wish you all the best with your career. I know that you're going to make a wonderful solicitor because you're really people focused and you're passionate and you have the drive, as we really went into depth today about the way that you conduct yourself, looking at clientele and really understanding their needs. So thank you also to my listeners. Thank you to my listeners around the world. I know that we don't just have listeners in Hong Kong and the UK. We have listeners around the world. So I want to thank you all for coming back again, for tuning in to the Faith Brunel Insights podcast. Stay tuned for next year, for this year, as we're going to kind of have a range of events. And the funny thing is, this episode was recorded in 2023, but at the time of listening, it will be 2024. So happy New Year, everybody. I can see Queenie smiling there. And do stay tuned for all of our FBI events. We have the first one in January 10th. We have the second one coming up in March 12th. And then we have a couple others in May and September. So Queenie, thank you so much again. I really thank you for spending your time. I know it's midnight in Hong Kong, so I really admire your dedication and commitment. So thank you very much. And as I say, everybody, remember, it's not an event, it's a journey. Your journey can begin now. So have a wonderful, happy new year, and stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.